friends, welcome to this episode of Big Deal Energy. And you know what? This is a unique one because Homegirl is not alone today. I finally brought someone in here to be the sounding board, because a lot of times I feel like I'm just like screaming into the wind. And so with that being said, I want to introduce you to one of my girlfriends, Molly Beran. Molly, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Molly, can you tell the audience before we get into today's episode, which, by the way, for everyone, is all about car buying, oddly, and how this can make you a better salesperson, which I know people do not associate car buying and good sales together, but we'll talk about it. Molly, who the hell are you? How do we know each other? What's going on here? Why are you here? How did this happen?
I am Molly Beran, and I am a project manager by trade. With my company, Projects by Molly, I help IT departments actually get stuff done instead of just talking about it. So I love to talk about processes and help people track things in a way that makes sense and help executives make better decisions. And the reason that we know each other is because I'm a member of your Elevate Mastermind, which you also sometimes talk about on this podcast. So
once in a while. And
yeah, I'm happy to represent the group.
Okay, so Molly's repping the group. Molly is, well, they're all stars, frankly, to be honest with you. Everyone in that group is amazing. But I invited Molly in today because I recently bought a car. Molly, have you purchased a car?
I did. So I currently car share. I live in Chicago, so I use my husband's car now. But I vividly remember the first time that I myself was buying a car, and I also had a friend with me. So it was interesting too, because my negotiations didn't really happen because I bought a Volkswagen, and they're very much like, price is the price. See ya. So I was
really
super interested in seeing how your whole story unfolded, and feel like I learned so much from just Instagram posts about it.
Right. So I was posting all about this on Instagram, and then Molly kept commenting. I'm like, girl, you just got to come on the show. We just got to talk about this. The truth is, I was petrified to eat, like the thought of going into the car dealer. I actually have been meaning to get a car for 6 months.
Gosh.
And I was so just frozen thinking about the discomfort of having to go into the dealership, having some smarmy salesman, and like not knowing if I'm getting a good deal or not. And I say this anyway, for context to the group, like, I think a lot of women feel this way. There's certain situations,
100%.
right?
Oh yeah. The smarmy sales guy is like the biggest nightmare scenario that you can face when buying a car. Like the second you said, like, my skin started crawling, I was like, I know that guy.
You know that guy,
I know
right?
that guy. Ugh,
so
yeah.
I was putting it off. Now, one thing, Molly, I don't know that you know this. This is a little piece of Elevate trivia. So I wanted to tell you why I went to go get a new car. So for those of you who don't know, I live in Detroit, AKA Motor City. You really cannot survive here without a vehicle. I mean, it's just one of those places. And Molly, do you know how in Elevate I came up with the concept of a flat tire?
Actually, no, I just know that it exists.
Okay, can you just briefly, because for people who are like, what the fuck is she talking about? Can you just explain what, like in a sentence, what is a flat tire in Elevate speak?
So a flat tire is a metaphor for a problem that a client has that you need to fix now. Much like if your car got a flat tire and you need to go somewhere, you got to deal with it. You got to address it. So that is the idea of a flat tire. But for us, it's whatever our customers' problems might be.
Right. Thank you. Beautiful. So this whole flat tire concept came up, believe it or not, because I was sitting in a Bell tire replacing the 5th tire on my last car. The 5th. And I was so freaking annoyed. I had to replace 7 tires on the car. I only owned it for 3 years.
Oh my God. How are you driving? But also that's wild.
First of all, it's not me. I swear. So It's not me. I had a low profile vehicle. I drove an Audi, which is a very low profile car.
Mhm.
Driving on the streets of Michigan, anyone can tell you we probably have the worst roads probably in the country. It is like off-roading on road. It
Oh, boy.
is so it's terrible. Any Michigander knows this. And so I would just in winter, as you know, like in
Mhm.
Chicago, it snows, we get a pothole, the car would like hit a pothole and I'd be like, well, I'm out. That's
Girl,
it.
we have an Audi. I literally like 100% know exactly what you were talking about and what that feels like.
Have
Yes.
you guys gotten flat tires?
Not yet.
Okay, don't inherit my curse.
Great. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, do not, because it was just a nightmare. And I loved this car. I loved driving it. It was fun. It was sporty, but I was in constant fear of like, oh, I'm going to be on the side of the freeway again. And then I'm going to have to spend half the day in Bell Tire. And then I'm going to be just so annoyed. Fun fact, Bell Tire actually told me they were sick of me because I had the warranty on all these tires. So they lost so much money on me, like thousands of dollars. Cause I just like kept showing up. They were like, really? And I'm like, yeah, I'm back. So anyway, I had to get a new car. I was done with this. I was terrified. And I have this neighbor who is like the world's most helpful man. He's kind of like the dad I always wish I had, who is like just friendly and wants to help you and is just so like positive and kind. I'm not trying to say like my dad was like a POS, but like this guy is, it's kind of like all those positive traits without my dad sitting me down to do geometry homework for 3 hours at like the kitchen table. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I am feeling you. Big
My
time.
dad would literally sit me down at the kitchen table and he'd start talking about the ancient Greeks when I was doing math homework. And I was like, I want to die. Like,
Oh,
I
God.
can't do this. So
Oh, God.
my neighbor, Marty, he has like built things in my home for me. He's built doggy doors. He's built railings. He's retired. He's a former GM exec. And I saw him on the street and he was like, we're just chatting. And I was like, I got to go buy this car. I'm so stressed. I don't know what to do. I don't want to get fleeced. And he said, well, do you want me to come with you? I was like,
Yeah.
yes,
Please.
come with me.
Wait,
By the
I'm
way,
sorry. Are you throwing me a life raft? Yes, I will take it right
I
now.
will
Thank you.
take it. I will take it. You know how there's those, I don't know if you're this way, Molly. There are people who say they have a hard time receiving help.
Mhm.
I have no hard time receiving help. Do you? How about you?
I think I'm medium on it. It kind of depends on what the help is. Like if it is help via free baked goods, I have no problem receiving that help.
Give
For
me the help.
sure not. Help like buying a car, yes, thank you. Help, I don't know, like designing my house. Like, no, I want
You-
control over certain things, like very project managery. I get it. But yeah,
Fair enough.
yeah,
So like you can let go of certain things or like
totally.
allow some, okay, me too. I'm like, I will always take help. I'm like, who's helping me? Who? I won't like, I don't often ask directly, but I'll be like, I'll take it if they offer. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yes. Actually, I would amend my past statement and say I will always accept help. I rarely remember to ask for it.
That's
That
because
is,
we
I think,
think we're
what's true.
superwoman and we're like, I can do it.
Yeah. Hashtag only
Figured-
child problems.
For real.
For real.
Oh my God, that needs to be a separate episode. Okay. So Marty says to me, he's like, what do you want? What cars do you want? He's like, he had a whole plan. He's like, first I know you would love this.
Mm.
He's like, first, we're just going to test drive cars. You buy nothing. I'm like, got it. And then we would figure out like what to do. And he's like, well, what cars do you want? I'm going to go do all this research for you about the cars. I was like, okay. So I'm looking for an SUV, obviously, because I'm on these crazy Detroit roads. I'm like, I need to be higher up. If I hit a pothole, like I don't want to worry about destroying the car.
Mhm.
So we knew it was like a bigger SUV. and I decided I wanted to look at a Toyota 4Runner. So we head to the dealership like on a Thursday evening. Beautiful day. And we get into the dealer and it's totally empty. There's nobody there, which I don't know what that means. I don't think it necessarily means anything at this point. And
It
the
means easy in, like, great.
here we go. Who's gonna
Here we
help me?
go. Let's do it.
The salesman comes up and he's like a model. He is so impeccably dressed. He's in this beautiful suit.
Intimidating.
Is that intimidating?
I think so. Like a beautifully dressed man who's about to sell me something super expensive. I would find that intimidating.
I guess so. Cause I like you, funny enough, we haven't met in person, but when we do, you'll notice that like 9 times out of 10, I'm wearing the same thing every day. I have like 100 of the same outfit.
I love it.
And that's how I operate. I don't like to think about clothes. So I just buy like 10 things of the same thing. And so I'm there and I'm like in like yoga pants, and like a black tank top. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay. I don't really look that serious, but whatever. We go in and he immediately shakes Marty's hand. And he's like, hi, it's nice to see you. He doesn't even look at
And that was like the first siren alarm bell going off when I was listening. I was like, oh no.
I know.
No.
Isn't that crazy?
That is wild. Like in 2024.
Older
Wild.
guy with a younger woman. And I say those words subjectively, but whatever. And I don't know what he was thinking, but eventually Marty said to him, she's the one with the money. Marty is a trip.
That is one of my takeaways, is like the characters in this story really make it. And Marty, I'm like, I gotta meet this guy.
Oh my God, he's amazing. She's the one with the money. And then his whole tune changed. And so I was like, as I was thinking about this, I don't know the right way to present this, but I guess I'm just going to present like the key takeaways for everyone as we go. Don't make assumptions about people. Be very careful, like assumptions about how people are dressed. Because this is going to come back when we go through the story, how they're dressed, their appearance, them, who they're with. You have no idea. You honestly have no idea who you're dealing with. So I say that to everyone. He gets out the 4Runner. He gets out 2, a new one, and then a 2021. And Marty is in like full dad mode. And he's like walking around the car, and the salesman had said, oh, well, this is a 3-row 4Runner. Okay. And he says, Marty asks, well, do the second row seats go down? I have no idea why Marty's asking this, but Marty's done his research clearly, because the guy says, oh yeah, they do. And Marty says, show me. And
love Marty.
I know,
Love
do we
Marty.
love Marty?
Yes.
He's amazing. Marty needs to be actually at the Elevate retreat. We should just like find a way to get Marty there.
We'll all go car buying. It'll be great.
That's actually our group activity, is we're going to go car buying. Yeah. With Marty. He would love it. So Marty knew that the second row didn't go down. I don't know how I know he'd done some research. And so the guy goes to take the second row down, and it does not fully like go down. It goes down maybe 50%. Now, Molly, let me ask you this question. If you were that salesman and you had very confidently made this assertion, and then like realized or just were called out that it was actually incorrect, what do you think would be the right thing to do if you were the salesperson?
I think the right thing to do would be to admit you made a mistake, or like go into the back and look up which models do fold down all the, like if that's a feature you need, like let me find out which ones really do.
You would think. Did he do any of those things?
I'm gonna guess no.
Yeah. No, he just nothing. Okay. So I don't know. I don't know. Like, how can you not admit fault? I don't know if he like learned to never say I'm sorry or something, or oh, I made a mistake. But I was like, okay, fine, not the end of the world. We get into the car, and the car is on empty. I am a little nervous because I'm kind of like, are we actually going to run out of gas? But I'm like, I don't know. Maybe they just want us to go like 2 miles and turn around. Like, I'm not really sure what's happening. And then the sales guy says, we'll see you back here quickly. He says that twice. And I'm like, okay. Like, I don't even know. I'm like, how long are we supposed to be in the car? Like, I'm not really sure. Like, I already feel bad
Yeah,
sort of driving the car. I'm like, clearly they don't want us to drive the car.
very
I don't
far
know.
at all.
Do they want me to drive the car?
Do they want me to get stranded? Like, is this their customer service ploy?
Right.
Seems not great to me personally.
Not great. And so we do the test drive. We're gone for, whatever, 20 minutes. We come back and
Was
we
that
go back.
quickly?
I don't know. I have no idea. I actually said to the guy when we went back in, I said something to him like, well, I'm glad you didn't call the police. Because I was like, were we gone too long? I have no idea how long we're supposed to be gone for. Just quickly, and you have no gas.
Oh God.
Okay. So Marty had looked up the safety ratings of this vehicle. And I think it was like overall 4 stars. And then there was the rollover was 3 stars.
Out of how many?
Marty, 5. Marty's like a former car, like GM car guy, and he is really unhappy. Like I said, Marty's in full dad mode. He is really unhappy about all of this. He's like, why wouldn't it be 5? 3 out of 5 for a car this big? Why, why is it so bad? But Marty also hates our salesman.
For obvious reasons.
He hates that he didn't address me. He hates that he got the car thing wrong. Like, by the way, this is your job. You have one thing to do, which is to understand the vehicles on your lot. Like, that's all you have to do.
It's not like it's a used car where there's like so many models that maybe he got. Like, this is just Toyota from the sounds of it.
Just Toyota. That's all it is. You got to, this is your job. So we sit down with, just know it. We sit down and he's like, so how'd you like it? And we're like, yeah, it was fine. But Marty says to him, but like, can you tell us what the safety ratings are? No, again, Marty knows the safety ratings. And the guy's like, immediately, without skipping a beat, it's all 5 stars.
That's it. The internet disagrees with you, good sir.
Not so much. And Marty then says, really, like, because there's a lot of different, types of front side rating and side rating and whatever, rear crash rating. And he's like, yeah, it's 5 stars. And so then Marty says, show me. This is like, honestly, if we could learn anything from Marty, it's like, I need to see the receipts.
Yeah, seriously.
He is not afraid to ask. This guy pulls up the ratings and he's just, it's just not true. And again, he says nothing of like, oh, I must have messed this up, or
been a long day, can't remember my own first name.
Right.
Whatever it is. Like, I get anything. That. I get that.
Right. Nothing. Just keeps going. And there's just at this point a lot of distrust and ill will, I guess. So it's like, well, the 4Runner's a very unique car. And, basically there's nothing like it on the market. Okay.
I'm sorry. Like, it's a Toyota. There's everything like it. Like there's Honda. There's any of the American manufacturers. Like,
Yeah. There's just, it's so unique.
I
It's
mean,
so
if it was
special.
like, a diamond crusted Bugatti, I believe you. There is nothing comparable. But a Toyota 4Runner?
He feels some kind of way about his car. He really, it's special.
I'm starting to understand why this lot was empty.
Right, right. Why was there no one there? Now we know. So we're like, yeah, okay, cool. And he's like, this car will not lose its it will retain its value. It doesn't lose value. And you know, you'll have it forever. So I'm like, how much is the car? And he says, the car you just drove is $57,000. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not buying that. So let's talk about the 2021 that you said is identical, that's
Mhm.
on your lot and also has low mileage. How much is that one? Oh, well, that's $40,000.
Hmm.
And it's like, that's really interesting. So a car that's 3 years old lost $17,000 worth of value. And you're telling me these cars retain their value like almost 100%. And then he says, but you don't want to buy this car used.
Why not?
Who's to say?
Also, every car loses its value the second you drive it off the lot. Like,
You know,
everyone knows this.
it's ridiculous.
Wild.
It's
wild. And,
ridiculous.
one thing that really struck me about his whole situation, he is trying to use scarcity, like to the end, like nothing out there compares to this. Even
Right.
giving you a car on empty.
Yeah.
It's like, holy shit. Like, I don't drive around with my car on empty, despite what my husband believes I'm capable of doing sometimes. No, and that just to me it breeds mistrust. And it's not
Yeah.
like a great way to build a relationship with somebody if you're like, oh, you better get this one because nothing else compares out there. And it's just a lie.
That's actually really interesting. All the ways you've pointed it out, all the different scarcity. And the other one I'll mention, which I don't think I've mentioned before, is he said there was only one new 4Runner on the lot. Isn't that interesting?
Like today? What do you mean
Like,
there's only
just one in the world? It was
just one?
there.
Great.
That was it. And I think you're absolutely right. And I think like to that point, there is a time and place where there's real scarcity.
Sure.
I mean, and that's not a lie. Like if we are running a program in our business and there is a deadline to apply because that's the deadline, we're starting something after that date or whatever it may be, that's real. But like as a scare tactic repeatedly,
I'm pretty sure you could drive 20 miles away to the next Toyota dealership and find another, like maybe not a brand new one, but I'm pretty sure you could find one somewhere else in Michigan.
I think so. I think they're around. So we were basically like on our way out. And he said, well, before you leave, what else are you looking at? And I told him, well, I'm looking at like a Kia Telluride. We're looking at like a larger Chevy SUV and all this stuff. And he scoffs. And he says, well, none of those compare to the 4Runner. You're not even comparing the right cars to this. I was like, oh, this is disgusting.
I was a GM executive, good
Right.
sir.
I think I would know. I think I would know. And also like, so my takeaway before we talk about the other experience we had, which was like night and day, my takeaway from this whole thing for you all who are listening, don't make people feel stupid.
Mhm.
Don't make people feel Like, you don't even know what you're looking at. You don't even know how to talk about it. You don't understand the uniqueness of this. Don't rely on all kinds of fake scarcity to scare someone into making a decision now. And don't fucking lie to people.
Seriously.
Or
I
if you
feel,
are, go ahead.
I was
Sorry.
gonna say, I feel like all of these tactics are like from 50 years ago. Like,
Oh
what is
yeah.
this guy legitimately thinking or do? Like,
I don't know, but the dealership was empty. That's
Mhm.
all I'll say. The dealership was empty.
Mhm.
So we get in the car and I am like, I actually feel stupid. I'm kind of like upset.
I just
And
hate that guy. Like, what the fuck? Seriously, this
I'm
is
like,
not okay.
this is exactly why I hate the whole concept of car buying makes me sick. So I'm
Ugh.
like, oh, like I have to deal with that dude.
Yeah.
And Marty, he's undeterred by any of this. He's like, that guy should be fired. It's just like going off. I'm like, all right. He's like, we're going to another dealer. And so we get in the car and we
I'm sorry,
head.
but like, did you want to? Like, he's like, we're going somewhere else. I'm like, I would like to just go home and eat a
I didn't
pizza.
want to go. I didn't want to go.
Oh,
I did not. Marty, though, Marty was
bless
on a
him.
mission.
Bless him.
I know. As
He's the
someone,
dad we all deserve,
he
honestly.
really is. He's like, I think he was having a lot of fun. I think Marty
At
was
least
actually
one
having,
of you was.
I think he was having a great time. But also, like, sometimes we need that friend
Yep.
to just be
Mhm.
like, you're not giving up here.
Right.
Like, get your ass into gear. And plus, Marty's driving. So it's like, I don't have to do anything but sit there.
That's nice.
So he's like, what car do you want to see next? So we find a dealer. It's kind of getting late. We find a dealer that's open. And this is what I know you've heard this, Molly, but for those listening, this is where the story really changes. And the lessons of like everything you should be doing in business are about to show up. Because we arrive at the Kia dealership, and the Kia dealership is like popping off.
I
Like it is
love it.
crazy in there. And I mean, there are probably 20 different customers.
Whoa.
It's crazy. It's so busy. There's actually nobody. And again, some of these things you might say, well, that's kind of an issue. There's nobody at the front to like greet you because everyone's like running around. So Marty and I are like looking at the different cars and just trying to see what everything is. And of course, Marty's got like a whole list of just like how to evaluate. He's like, oh, well, this one's really nice. And this is a lot nicer than the 4Runner. And let's take it for a drive. So this guy comes like racing by us. And he's just wearing like a red, I think it was a red like polo shirt and
Mhm.
like khakis or something, way more casual than the other guy. He still looks professional, but like more
Sure.
casual. And he's like, he's literally out of breath. And he's like, I want to help you guys. I'm going to go see a client. What do you need? What do you need? And we're like, and Marty is very clear. And by the way, for anyone buying a car, just do what Marty says. Marty says, we are looking to test drive a Telluride. And he just like gets right to the point. And the guy's like, okay, what model do you want? And we're like, we want kind of a mid-range model. He's like, I got you, fam. It's coming out front. Like just, and we're like, oh my God. Okay. Thank you.
I
And
love
then
that he called you fam. Like,
yes,
how do you
he
not
did.
love him instantly?
Love, love. And then he runs somewhere. He's literally just running. And then a minute later, we see him and he's like, oh, I need to get your driver's license. So he photocopies it. And I just said, like, I didn't even know who he was. Like, I didn't know, are you someone who works in the service department? Like, are you a salesperson? Like, I don't know what's even happening because he has not introduced himself. And I'm like, what is your name? And he says, oh, they call me Kitchen. And it's his last name. And he points to his belly. And he's kind of a little bit of a bigger guy. And he says, you know, they say that because I like to eat. I'm done. Like, love.
Relatable.
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 Marty is also a bigger guy. Marty is in love. They are literally hugging at this point and fist bumping. Fist bumping.
Love it. Oh, yes.
We have spent, and so like, Molly, you told me something interesting about like self-deprecating humor.
Hmm.
Do you remember that statistic?
Yeah. So statistically speaking, self-deprecating humor is actually very, very effective for women specifically.
So interesting.
It really helps you like be more relatable, and especially for women in leadership positions, it is like one style of humor that really does seem to land well. And I think it's like not necessarily bad for men, but you also do, you know, use sparingly, I think is sort of the messaging that I've written or that I've read about it. But yeah, for women, it's especially effective.
Let's just say it worked. It worked. And so like the thing I noticed about this, again, because I can't walk into a situation without like my business hat on, is the instant rapport building this guy had. The instant ability to use humor, to make us feel comfortable, to even one of the things I know we talk a lot in Elevate about is finding commonality with people. And while he may not be wanting to use like weight as a commonality, that certainly can go the wrong way with women, finding like, hey, I like to eat, or using something like that that's just very relatable to all of us. And it's like, oh, this guy's really cool. And he's like,
and he's a human.
He's a human.
He's not going to make me feel like an idiot because he's also just a human over here.
That's right. He's just a human. So we get in the car. I feel like Marty bought this car. I mean, I bought the car, but Marty like loves this car. He's like, this is so much better than the 4Runner. This is so much better, blah, blah, blah. So we take it in. We actually drove another vehicle, like a lower, whatever model, whatever vehicle. We didn't like that one as much. Anyhow, at the end, I forgot to mention something really important about the test drive. We get the car and it has a full tank of gas. And Kitchen says, it's 8:15. We close at 9 p.m. Go as long as you want. Just be back by 8:59.
Perfect.
Like, what? I mean, night and day.
Full tank. I mean, you probably couldn't use it all in 45 minutes, but hey, like
we could have gone and done groceries. Like, I don't know that we would do that, but like just the sense of like, we're here to help you, whatever you need. It's all available to you. And like, you're coming to the cookout type vibe. I'm like, I'm here for it.
It's abundance, not scarcity.
So we get back to the dealer. Kitchen's still like running around. He sees me and he says, okay, how'd you like the car? We're like, yep, liked it. I'll be in touch. He's like, great. Here's my card. And then the only thing he says is, email me. Like, oh, okay.
Easy breezy.
Hi. I think a lot about this in terms of like what we do in sales, of like, there is a type of salesperson who's always pushing for the sale. And then there is, I think, the other type of salesperson, which this guy reminds me of, which is like, listen, if this is the right thing for you and it's the right time to buy it, I'm here to assist you. Otherwise, I'll find other people to work with. Is that what you like get out of that?
Yeah, he's not thirsty. He's like, I'm fine. Like, email me if you want. We can chat. That's cool. Like, or don't.
Well, I mean, whatever.
Like, it was like easy breezy. And the other guy is all like, there's nothing else out there. You better buy this car right now. Nothing compares to the 4Runner. Are you kidding?
It's such a unique car, Molly. Apparently it's so unique.
So unique.
It has 4 wheels mounted on a chassis
that doesn't fold down all the way.
and a seat. Yeah, I mean, it's unique. It's
So
unique.
so
By the way, Marty did pull down the seat in the Telluride. He was like, does the seat go down? Then the guy was like, yeah. And he showed us. And we're like, okay, thank you. Like, it works.
Mm, mm.
Don't be like the Toyota dealer.
No.
I mean, just not a great experience.
Mm-mm.
Anyway, so the next day so I've been on like this car buying TikTok thing. I just watch car deals. Like, this is what I do in my free time. This is
I love
like
it.
my life. And so I'm watching these people negotiate car deals. So I've kind of like learned some stuff. And I've learned that I should be trying to get 5 to 10% off MSRP. I'm also really not sure how to do that, but I'm like, fuck it.
Gotta have a goal.
I'm just gonna talk to Kitchen, see what he can do. So the first thing I do is I have learned you're supposed to negotiate over email or phone before going in, because none of us want the pressure of like being there waiting for them to make the decision. Just
Mhm.
like do it first and then go in if they agree. So I was like, hey, can you give me $1,000 off? And he's like, yeah. I was like, okay. And I then said to him, I was like, so Kitchen. And we're just like having a nice email exchange. And then I jumped on the phone with him and a really nice rapport. And I leaned on my personality big time. And I just said, Kitchen, do you like to please women?
Ah! Gold. Gold.
And Kitchen was like, yes, ma'am. And I'm like, well, you're going to have to go get me more money off this car. And he was like, okay, let me think about how to do that. And I was like, okay, what are you thinking? And so like, he's like telling me like his ideas. And I'm like, yeah. So random thing for those of you who care about car buying, there are dealers who they can actually lose money on the sale of the car, but they make money from the auto manufacturer based on volume sold. So that is a thing. They can actually sell you the car with very little to no money made, but then make money in other ways off volume. And I was like, I think you're a volume dealership, Kitchen. He's like, yeah, we sell a lot. I'm like, okay, well, you can just get your volume discount. I'll just get the car off. I'll just buy the car. I'll be there in 20 minutes to pick it up if you can do this. And he got me the deal. So I got my 5% off MSRP. I was happy with that. I could have played him off other dealers. Like I could have
Sure.
played a game, but I didn't. And the reason I didn't is because I really liked him. And I
Mhm.
wanted him to make the sale. Like it actually, like he had built enough of a relationship with me, even in 10 minutes, to be like, I want you to have this money.
Yeah.
Which I think is important for all of us to understand, especially when you're dealing with a commodity that is really, we're just looking for the cheapest thing.
Right.
But I liked him. And so he got and then they gave me what I wanted for my trade-in, and just everything worked out really well. And I want to share the last thing. When I went into the dealer and we were signing all the paperwork, he said, I want you to know that a lot of people ask for the type of deal you got and we don't give it to them. And I said, really? And he said, yeah, you're the only one we gave it to today. And I said, why did you give it to me? Do you want to know what he said?
Yeah.
Because you were nice.
Oh.
And I just really think about that. And I want everyone to think about that. The value of building relationship with people, even if it's only going to be a quick transaction like this,
Mm-hmm.
being kind to people, being funny, being generous. I don't know. It just seems to like make a difference.
Yeah. Especially, I'm sure he just gets a bunch of people who just, want the most off that he can possibly do. And they are jerks when they come in or test drive or whatever, and like, I bet you brought that car back on time. It's not like you were
Yeah.
wasting his busy time either, and I agree. I think it really does matter. I mean, I get so many people prospecting me for like, buy these leads and do this stuff. And it's
Right.
like, I don't know anything about you. Why on earth, why on earth would I sign up to go into business with you after one cold email?
Is that crazy?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and this is just like, you have to have the relationship, like the rapport matter. First
Yeah.
guy didn't do any rapport.
Zero.
At all. He liked a negative rapport, actually. Is what he did.
He did. What would we call negative rapport?
Animosity.
There you go. He was just building animosity.
Yeah.
Like, animosity. Yeah, totally. And then the second guy, but here's something I think that I hear you saying. You don't have to, I think, especially in our lines of business. I don't know if you feel this way, Molly, but I see a lot of people, and we talk about this in Elevate all the time of like, well, when can I ask for the meeting?
Mhm.
When can I take the next step with the client? And I think a lot of us assume like, well, oh, I should wait longer, or I shouldn't do it now, or I'm going to seem spammy if I ask soon. And it's like, if you've built rapport with the person, you can fucking ask.
You can ask. Mhm.
Like you don't have to necessarily wait. Now, I mean, obviously that depends. If you haven't built rapport or they're not receptive, maybe don't ask.
Right.
But like, I think a lot of us think, oh, it takes more time to build rapport. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it doesn't. And I think a lot about something, we talk a lot about, which is like the right person, the right product, right time.
Yep.
And in this case, it was the right product. It was the right time, but we had two different people. And one of them was never going to make a sale.
Never.
So I don't know. Any other takeaways? What else do you think? Like, what does this make you think of for consulting or for your own business? Is there anything that you're like, oh, I could learn from that, or anything? I mean, you're already doing so well.
I mean, I think it's just a really good reminder about the importance of relationships and being human. And for me too, there's a lot about scarcity that just comes up. It's like if you're in between a contract and you don't know who your next client is going to be, or you're working on it, but you're not there yet, it's so easy to just let the panic take hold and run away. And that's, I think, where you
Right.
make really bad decisions. So just understanding that like scarcity doesn't actually sell. So
Scarce. Yeah.
whether I'm feeling it or they're feeling it, or I'm like projecting it out there, like none of it's gonna work. So,
I have to tell you an interesting story about this. Back in the day when I started Elevate, I would run these cohorts of the program. And so it was actually just like you'd come in for like 8 or 12 weeks, and that was Elevate. That was like version 1 of the program. And so, you had to sign up by a certain day. And by the way, just for everyone listening, I'm not against doing this if this makes sense for your business. If you're like, yes, I like to run a cohort-based program, great, do it. What I noticed in doing this is that I would have people join because of the scarcity. And they're like, oh, I have to join now. But they weren't ready for it. And so we ended up, not always, but often with at least one person in the program who just had like, lovingly, no business being there. They truly were not ready to be in the room, but the scarcity drove them into the room. And I never felt good about that, because my whole thing is like, if I want to get a result for you, you have to be in the right place to receive that. Like if you're just not set up, it's never going to work for you. Or if you're like refusing to make the changes we want you to make because you're not ready for them for whatever reason, it's just not going to work for you.
mhm. Well,
So
and
I don't know.
that was one of the things that brought me in. I mean, I think you remember this. I sat on one of your big deal energy spotlight events
Yeah,
a year before I joined
I
Elevate. And like we
remember.
had a follow-up call, and you're like, what would it take to join? I was like, I just don't have the capital saved up, but I really want to do it. And then as soon as I cleared that balance, I emailed you out of the blue. I was like, hey, can we talk about joining Elevate? And you were like, girlfriend, yes, let's get on the
Yeah.
calendar. It was just like, it was easy breezy. And I didn't feel pressured at the time. I remember I was feeling nervous about that first phone call because I was like, I think she's going to make me join. Like I don't know if I can or if I can afford it or blah, blah, blah. Like I didn't want to get pressured into something. And then you're
Right.
just like, all right, it's not a big deal. And I was like, okay, I'm going to sign up for your email list and read them every week and secretly think about joining your program for a year.
But sometimes that's what the sales cycle is. And that's what I think people aren't patient enough to understand or appreciate is that, like, I'm going to be honest with you. You have been such a breath of fresh air inside of Elevate. Like, truly, I feel that I know you've been with us almost a year, but I feel like something really big began to shift in the group in September of 2023 with the arrival of you and then Josh. And the group has just started to take on, I mean, from my perspective, such a, I don't know, it just feels like firing on all cylinders, I guess is maybe the best way to describe it. But that only happens by not forcing people into something.
Exactly.
I mean, maybe someone else has got it figured out, but I can't tell you how many people I've met who are stuck in a program they don't want to be in and are waiting for the time for that thing they've already committed to end before they can get out. And it's like, why? Why do people run their businesses like this?
Seriously.
Yeah. If you don't want to be in Elevate, leave. That's just what I have to say. Like, I'm like, we don't want you here.
I agree. I agree. I mean, if you have to pull you screaming and kicking to our meetings.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah. So, if I have to pull you screaming and kicking into your Toyota 4Runner, probably not the car for you.
Where the seats don't even go down. How do you have a $57,000 car and the seats don't go down?
That's wild.
I can't. All right. I mean, listen, no shade to Toyota. Okay. Don't come after me, but just saying, if you want to know about your dealer, if the gods of Toyota listening to this, you can contact me and find out. Okay. I have like I know we could wrap right here, but I just have a random question for you.
Sure.
From basically, for those of you who don't know Molly, she is like probably one of the best project managers I've ever come across. And I'm not just saying that, but like you've gotten that feedback repeatedly. Like her clients have literally cried. Am I right, Molly?
Yeah.
Okay. When she has left a project, they cry. And because she is that good. Do you see how anything we've talked today like applies to project management, or like how it could apply to your clients, or how, like, I don't know. I'm just curious how you'd answer that.
Big time. I think one of the reasons that many project managers struggle is because they focus on the task or the schedule and forget that it's a whole team of people that are trying to get something done. So it becomes this like battle between like, why aren't you meeting this deadline? Why is this late? Da, 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 da. And then people on the team feel like they are being blamed, that they're not trusted, et cetera, and so forth. And maybe they want to get the project manager off their back. So they wind up doing something fast or whatever, and then it's low quality, blah, blah, blah. So, the problem there is like you can meet your deadlines, but if the product sucks or people are unhappy or anything else, then like that's how project managers get a really bad reputation. Whereas, what my approach has really morphed into, because I think I started that same way and I saw it didn't work great. And now, it's like I run a status call and I ask people, you said you were going to be done with this. It's okay if you're not. Like, what's up? Like, what's going on? Right. It becomes about What's blocking you? Do you need help? What can I do to move this thing along? And you wind up like trying to celebrate people as much as possible. Like I try to really cheerlead, call out when there's a win, celebrate when we can. Back when we had like in-person stuff, I would often, try to host a happy hour or bring in I mean, sometimes you just need an Oreo, right? So like just bringing in food sometimes is like a nice way to
Hell
like, we're all
yes.
human bodies. Like we need stuff, right? So I think that's the biggest lesson that I think really applies to project management is just like rapport. Like we teach in some of the PMP classes that I help people prepare for. We teach like that's the dirty little secret of project management. It's all about relationships. And the other thing that I'll say too is scarcity. Like there are a lot of times when you are under a tight deadline for a project, but you can only pull that card so many times before a team suffers, before a company suffers. And if all you have is urgency, that's like not a great way to motivate or keep a team going in the long run.
Because it's sort of like walking around with a big stick, I would imagine.
Exactly.
So I'm just curious, what are for you, if you do have a deadline or you do have something important coming up,
Mhm.
is your approach to try to really like meet people where they're at, try to understand what's going on versus like, we got to get it done now. Or else? Like, how do you deal with that when there is really a tight deadline coming up?
It's really about knowing how tight is tight. I've never actually met a go live date that couldn't move unless there's a regulation. If there is something that is driven by law and it needs to be done, like the answer there is plan to be done a couple of months ahead of time so that if something goes awry, you can still like make it, right? But I think it really comes down to knowing where you do and don't have slack. And I've usually found that most leaders are willing to give you more time if you have reasons and you know why. And it's not just like, oh, this thing's broken. It's like, oh, this guy had this come up and this person has this, and so-and-so's mom is in the hospital. So, it's just a really crappy time right now. And 3 days could really make a big difference. Like 3 days. Fuck. Okay.
Well, so many of these, but to your point, so many of these deadlines are artificial. We make them up. I mean, apart from regulatory deadlines, we make them up. So we do have the ability to shift them and change them or even just scrap them.
And, I think too, it can help you if you're leading a team, whether you're a project manager or not. If you negotiate for that time ahead of time and you tell the team, like, listen, I talked to so-and-so and I told them about this and they're willing to give us 1 extra week.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you're the hero, and that just helps you with your rapport too. So it benefits a lot of different things when and if you can inject time, or even just like, sometimes it's just like, hey, this is going to be late. Like there's literally nothing we can do about it. And then
it is what it is.
Yeah. And it also is about growing your comfort with being able to say that, it is what it is. There's nothing I could personally do to fix it. I've tried A, B, C, D. Here it is. Like, this is just what's so, and understanding that like, sometimes you literally can't control it, despite what you want to do, despite what the PMI might say or imply. Like sometimes there really is nothing you could do.
And that's life.
That's life.
I think, did you ever watch Car Talk?
I loved that.
Yes. I feel like today's episode was like, we were the click and clack of business advice.
Yeah.
I
just listen to Boston accents. That's it.
That's right. That's all we're missing. Well, we need to get Mark and Kevin on here, and they can make up for that. Molly, hey, thanks so much for joining me. This was really fun. And everyone, if you want to learn more about Molly, how can they find you?
You can find me on www.projectsbymolly.com.
I love it. Everyone, hope you enjoyed this episode of Big Deal Energy. And until next time, giddy up.